South Korea is moving to fly home its nationals caught up in a raid on a Hyundai plant in the US. About 475 people were arrested at a facility in Georgia on Thursday by immigration officials. That included some 300 Koreans. The raid caused deep dismay in Seoul, where only days earlier the government had pledged to deepen business cooperation with the US.
정부 부처와 경제단체
On Sunday, South Korea's presidential chief of staff, Kang Hoon-sik, said negotiations to free the workers had been completed. He said a chartered plane would bring them home, with media reports saying that could happen Wednesday. Donald Trump defended the raid and denied it had hurt relations with South Korea, but also said he would look at the situation.
ICE was doing right because they were here illegally, but we do have to work something out where we bring in experts so that our people can be trained so that they can do it themselves. Does that make sense?
Trump expanded on the idea in a social media post. He told foreign firms, "Your investments are welcome, and we encourage you to legally bring your very smart people with great technical talent to build world-class products. What we ask in return is that you hire and train American workers." Thursday's raid took place at a giant project to build EV batteries operated by Hyundai and LG Energy Solution. The Department of Homeland Security said many of the workers were barred from working after crossing the border illegally or overstaying their visas. Now the events in Georgia look likely to be repeated, with US Border Czar Tom Homan vowing Sunday to step up raids on workplaces. Seoul said it regretted the arrests and the sight of its citizens in shackles, but also said it would look for ways to improve its visa system.
The Supreme Court on Monday lifted restrictions on raids in Southern California, targeting people for deportation based on their race or language, a hardline approach toward immigration backed by U.S. President Donald Trump.
We saved Los Angeles, Dan. You know that. Los Angeles was a mess.
The decision by the Supreme Court puts on hold a federal judge's order temporarily barring agents from stopping or detaining people without reasonable suspicion they are in the country illegally. The High Court, with a 6-3 conservative majority, saw all 3 liberal justices publicly dissent from the decision, with Justice Sonia Sotomayor writing that the Trump administration has, quote, all but declared that all Latinos, U.S. citizens or not, who work low-wage jobs, are fair game to be seized at any time, taken away from work, and held until they provide proof of their legal status to the agent's satisfaction. As part of the court's conservative majority, Justice Brett Kavanaugh concurred with Monday's decision, saying that, quote, apparent ethnicity alone cannot furnish reasonable suspicion, but it can be a, quote, relevant factor when considered along with other salient factors. In June, Trump sent National Guard troops and U.S. Marines into Los Angeles in response to protests against federal immigration raids. California Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democrat, contested the deployment of troops and has called out the president for his actions.
His state of mind doesn't seem to be focused on the issue of crime and violence. It's about an expression of authoritarianism.
Trump has promised record-level deportations, and his administration's immigration raids, including in Los Angeles, have prompted panic as well as protests. They've also drawn lawsuits over the aggressive tactics employed by masked and armed federal enforcement agents.
Israel's military dropped leaflets on Gaza City on Saturday, ordering people to leave for the south. That's as its forces advance deeper into the enclave's largest urban area. But some, like Ibtissam Muqdad, say they aren't going anywhere and can't access public transport or cars for the journey anyway. "We cannot leave," she said. "We will die here and we are not leaving. We are tired." Israeli forces have been carrying out an offensive on Gaza City's suburbs for weeks. That's after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered its capture. He says Gaza City is a Hamas stronghold and that seizing it is necessary to defeat the militant group. The military has carried out heavy strikes on the city for weeks as it advanced through the outer suburbs. Outside the morgue at Al-Shifa Hospital, Gazans like Reem Nufal mourn those they've lost.
Where are you people? Arabs, Americans? Don't you have children? Our children are being killed and exterminated. We are being exterminated.
Israel, meanwhile, has become increasingly diplomatically isolated and faces growing calls at home, led by families of hostages, for a diplomatic deal. Netanyahu is pushing for an all-or-nothing deal that would see all hostages immediately released and Hamas surrendering. Hamas, which released a video on Friday showing 2 captives it said were being held in Gaza City, has offered to release some hostages for a temporary ceasefire. On Friday, US President Donald Trump said Washington was in, quote, very deep negotiations with the Palestinian militants. Meanwhile, the assault on Gaza City threatens to displace hundreds of thousands sheltering amid nearly 2 years of violence. Despite Israeli promises of food and shelter, if Gazans head to a so-called humanitarian zone in Khan Yunis, some say they refuse to be displaced again. Hassan al-Assi says there are no safe areas in Gaza. "We are not leaving the city," he says, "no matter what."
And grifters to make life or death decisions about the health care of the American people.
Do you accept the fact that 1 million Americans died from COVID?
I don't know how many died.
You're the Secretary of Health and Human Services. You don't have any idea how many Americans died from COVID?
I don't think anybody knows that because there was so much data chaos coming out of the CDC, and there were so many perverse incentives. And these are model studies.
You don't know the answer of how many Americans died from COVID. This is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Do you think the vaccine did anything to prevent additional deaths?
Again, I would like to see the data and talk about the data.
You have had this job for 8 months, and you don't know the data about whether the vaccine saved lives?
And that's the problem, is that they didn't have the data. The data by the Biden administration absolutely dismal.
So who was politicizing? You're saying the Biden administration politicized all the data? Go back to what Senator Cantwell just said.
Fired Dr.
Go to the Trump Surgeon General.
They fired Dr. Kraus. They fired all the people who questioned the orthodoxy. They fired Dr. Gruber, Dr. Kraus.
So, Mr. Chairman, the Secretary of Health and Human Services doesn't know how many Americans died from COVID. Doesn't know if the vaccine helped prevent any deaths. And you are sitting as Secretary of Health and Human Services? How can you be that ignorant?
The question is, everyone who wants it, that was your promise.
No, I didn't. I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying when you said that? Because you are the one who said you would not take them away. You tell the head of the CDC that if she refused to sign off on your changes to the childhood vaccine schedule, that she had to resign?
No, I told her that she had to resign because I asked her, are you a trustworthy person? And she said no. So if you had an employee who told you they weren't trustworthy, would you ask them to resign, Senator?
So I'm sorry, but this is not what she has said publicly. She has said
I'm not surprised about that.
So you're saying she's lying?
Yes. Every conversation I had with her, there were witnesses.
Let me get this straight. This is the same person that less than a month earlier, you stood next to her and described her as unimpeachable, and you had full confidence in her, and that you had full confidence in her scientific credentials. And in a month, she became a liar?
Yeah, you should ask her what changed.
Are you aware that one of the people you put on the panel, Dr. Robert Malone, claimed that the commonly used mRNA vaccine, quote, causes a form of AIDS and can damage children's, quote, brains, their heart, their immune system, and their ability to have children in the future? Yes or no, Mr. Kennedy?
And Dr. Malone is one of the inventors.
Yes or no? Yes or no? Were you aware that he had that view when you appointed him to this panel?
Dr. Malone is one of the inventors. As I said, Dr. Malone is one of the inventors of the mRNA
That's fine. That's
vaccine,
not
so he knows a lot more about it than I do.
Mr. Chairman, that statement is not true that Dr. Malone made, just as it wasn't true when you wrote that, quote, African AIDS is entirely different from Western AIDS. Are you aware that another one of these new members, Dr. Levy, wrote that, quote, evidence is mounting and indisputable that mRNA vaccines cause serious harm, including death, especially among young people? Yes or no? Are you aware that he said that?
I wasn't aware he said it, but I think I agree with it.
You agree with it? It's not true. It wasn't true when he said it, and it's not true when you said it. All these vaccines that we're talking about today are free and accessible to parents today in America who have the freedom to be able to make that choice for their children. Will that be true after your handpicked panel makes their judgments about these vaccines?
I think that parents should be free
I know you said that before. I do too.
To make their own choices.
So will they be just as free after these?
I assume they will be.
I will hold you to that, Secretary Kennedy, because this is not a podcast. It is the American people's health.
All the evidence is transparent for the first time in history, and you were never there complaining when the pharmaceutical companies were picking those people and then running their products through with no safety testing.
You can characterize it any way you want. I quoted them today. What I said was accurate. What you said were lies. You described people Senator, moving the Titanic.
Are you saying that the mRNA vaccine has never been associated with myocarditis or pericarditis in teenagers?
I am simply.
Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I am simply trying to say that the people that you have put on that panel, after firing the entire.
You're evading the question.
No, I'm asking the questions here,
You're
Mr.
evading
Kennedy.
that question.
I'm asking the questions, Mr. Kennedy. I'm asking the questions for Mr. Kennedy on behalf of parents and schools and teachers all over the United States of America who deserve so much better than your leadership. That's what this conversation is about, Mr. Chairman.
Senator, they deserve the truth, and that's what we're going to give them for the first time in the history of that agency.
Just want to pick up on Senator Warren's point. Are you telling us that the former head of CDC went to you, you asked her, are you a trustworthy person? And she said, no, I am not a trustworthy person?
She didn't say, no, I'm not a trustworthy person. She said, no.
Wow.
I'm giving a quote. And I asked her
No, 1 second. And you're also repeating now that she is a liar, correct? What she wrote in the Wall Street Journal.
If she wrote that I fired her because she refused to sign on in advance for the ACIP committee, no, that's not accurate.
Secretary Kennedy, are President Trump and the medical community right, or do you still believe that the COVID vaccine was, quote, the deadliest vaccine ever made?
No, first of all, I didn't say that. Oh, I said that in terms of affairs reports a while ago. I said today, I think that President Trump should get the Nobel Prize.
So who's right? Is Trump in the medical community right, or are you right?
President Trump did an extraordinary piece of leadership.
Is he right or wrong? Did COVID save millions of lives?
As I said, he got Americans back to work. At that time, that particular vaccine was perfectly matched to the virus that was circulating then. And I have no idea how many lives it saved, but it saved quite a few.
Every single Republican, I don't mean to be political here, Mr. Chairman, has received PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. Are they all corrupt as well?
And I'm telling you, the American Heart Association has been co-opted by the food
Everybody
industry.
but you, Senator. But you know what? When you ran for president, you know, we have a corrupt campaign finance system. Maybe you will agree with me on that. Okay, you were already president. You had $1.5 billion behind it. You received $300,000 from people, not from the industry, people in it, as I did, from individuals. You corrupt. President Trump got $3 million. Every Republican got corporate PAC money for the pharmaceutical industry. Democrats as well. Everybody is corrupt, but you? Is that what we're looking at? I don't think so. And I think the issue now...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, I think you do know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The issue is every time anyone disagrees with you...
Are you saying the pharmaceutical industry was supporting my presidential campaign?
No, I'm saying...
I don't think so.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the pharmaceutical industry is a greedy institution which is charging us the highest prices in the world. They are pervasive. But to suggest that every institution, the AMA,